Should I quit judo and jiu-jitsu? It's honestly not a crazy question to ask, and here's why. So back in 2022, I started one of the most crazy competition sprees ever. I literally gave up my apartment to travel the world as a jiu-jitsu nomad, competing every 1 to 2 weeks across the US, Europe, Japan, and even Brazil, all as a blue belt. At one point, I was even the 11th highest spender in IBJJF tournament fees, according to this guy who tracked it. And for a season, I even hit #1 in the world in 2 different weight classes. Since then, I've done close to 300 jiu-jitsu matches across 80 tournaments, mostly in just a couple years. And then on top of that, I've done judo tournaments, beach wrestling, and even sumo. And that's not even counting some of the crazy YouTube stuff like challenging 20 white belts in a row, competing in the Ultimate Self-Defense Championship in Lithuania, and dojo storming multiple judo black belts. All of that sounds really cool on paper and it's been super fun, but there's a side to it that I haven't really talked about. And that is, my body is completely breaking down. And my body wasn't really even built for this. I went from super overweight and unhealthy to competing a lot in a very short period. And now I've been injured for the last 3 months. Again. A big part of this was weight cutting. Oftentimes it was anywhere from 1 to 5 pounds. Other times, more rarely, it was closer to 15. But over time, I noticed I was just more tired, everything hurt during training, and recovery time was a lot slower. I tried to keep lifting at least once per week to stay strong and prevent injuries, but that's not nearly enough, and when you're constantly traveling, competing, trying to find gyms, cutting weight, it gets very difficult. It's almost like I did this to myself. During this time, I had had smaller injuries that I could bounce back from, like a sprained MCL, but then came the first real injury. In Portugal, a guy landed hard on my shoulder, which sprained my AC joint, but I ignored it and I just kept training. Then in LA, in my third and final match of the day, I landed directly on it and it turned into a grade 2 AC joint separation. That put me out for a couple months and I actually still deal with it today. But ironically, that injury led to a huge mindset shift. I couldn't train, but I lifted weights, learned about the ecological approach, traveled to train with Greg Souders, and made some of my most important videos. Then came the rib saga. I first popped a rib in Austin in the open class, but I rushed back to competing, stopped paying as much attention to strength training, and since I already had a weak core, I was basically setting myself up for injuries later. Which brings us to 2025. I popped the same rib in a competition, then went to Lithuania to film USDC and got kneed in the exact same spot, hospital trip included. And then when I thought I'd finally healed, I did a challenge grappling 20 white belts and ended up with a fractured rib, heat exhaustion, and COVID, all at the same time. And then on top of that, in the meantime, I'd been dealing with groin pain, mostly from judo. Just a few months ago, I did a tournament where I was competing in 2 divisions back to back, and I did 9 matches in a row and was limping afterwards. But I kept challenging judo black belts for YouTube and doing more crazy shit anyway, until I eventually noticed a small bulge in my lower abs, and that put me completely out of training. I couldn't even do a sit-up, and I couldn't even go for a jog. It turns out to be athletic pubalgia, a soft tissue injury of the lower abdominal wall, which sometimes requires surgery. It can also lead to hernias, but luckily, after about 3 months out, I'm finally making a little bit of progress and even trained for the first time yesterday, but I'm far from recovered. So, do I want to quit jiu-jitsu and judo? Well, before I answer that, here's what I learned. First, rehab isn't magic. You just need to strengthen the injured area. For my shoulder, that meant back, chest, and shoulder work. For ribs, it was rest and core strength. And for the pubalgia, actually the thing that's been helping the most is really working on the posterior chain, so it's been lots of glute bridges. And second, you need to lift heavy to avoid injury, but you need to avoid overdoing it. I lost a bunch of muscle while traveling during that time, so I overcompensated and tried to do a bunch of heavy squats and GHD sit-ups, which probably contributed to this latest injury. And third, if you're injured, don't restrict calories. I did that to avoid gaining weight since I wasn't training, but calorie restriction slows healing way more than people realize. And from a mindset standpoint, while it's difficult to not be able to train and make the same types of YouTube videos that I want to make, being hurt actually forces me to be creative and learn new things. And it makes me grateful for the times that I can fight, because I realize that everything is temporary and you can always find something good about being injured. So no, I'm not quitting, but I am changing how I approach training and competing. If something hurts and I don't address it, it doesn't just go away on its own, it compounds. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to hit subscribe and leave a comment below with what you want to see next. See you in the next one.